Thanks for tuning in to the Old Dirty Basement. On this week's episode, we're covering part one of the disappearance of Aundria Bowman.
Yeah, Aundria Bowman. What happened? Where'd she go? An adoption gone wrong? Who knows?
Yeah, I don't know much about this. I know there's a thing on Netflix right now. It's pretty hot. So it's an interesting story.
Yeah, it's called Into the Fire. But anyway, I hope you're enjoying the podcast. If you are, leave us a 5-star rating on Spotify, on Apple, a written review, and sit back, relax, and enjoy part one of the disappearance of Aundria Bowman.
This is the Old Dirty Basement, home to debauchery, madness, murder, and mayhem. A terror-filled train ride deep into the depths of the devil's den.
With a little bit of humor,
History.
And copious consciousness.
I'm your announcer, Shallow Throat. Your hosts are Dave, Matt, and Zap. I love you, Matthew McConaughey. All right.
hey, this is Dave,
Matt.
And Zap.
And welcome to the Old Dirty Basement.
where every week we cover a true crime.
Murder.
Or compelling story.
So sit back.
Relax.
And comprehend.
Hello, everyone out there, and welcome back to the Old Dirty Basement. I am Matt. With me always is Dave and Zap.
What's going on?
Hey, how are ya?
All right, good. How are you guys doing?
Oh,
Good. Had to knock the cobwebs off down here.
yeah.
You know.
What was it, a little dusty down here?
I knocked the dust off of that.
Well, we all have schedules. We all work. We all do things. Zap had a travels to Las Vegas.
Oh, Viva Las Vegas.
Yeah. And, we all got our stuff going on. So it's good to be back.
I hear that
It is.
life
It's
is what
nice.
happens when you're busy making other plans.
That's right. I guess we were back last week with Kingpin.
Oh, yes.
This is a 2-for-1 night. So
Is that John Lennon?
Yes.
Beautiful boy.
Well,
Yeah.
look at the ears on Matt.
That is a great song.
Look at the
that's
a
big
great
brain on Matt.
Actually, I said that because I made my wife and I, I'll just say my wife, we made a thing for our son, for his first birthday, and that was John Lennon, Beautiful Boy. But that's a
Oh, nice.
great song.
Love
Great
the
song.
lyrics.
Fun fact, I'd never heard that song until I'd seen Mr. Holland's Opus. That was the first time I'd heard,
Ooh,
ever heard
another
that song.
fantastic movie.
Oh, is that Dreyfus in that?
Yeah.
Good
We could probably do a review on that one.
We could.
Good.
Yeah.
It falls within the parameters.
It
Yes.
certainly falls within the parameters and actually has a bit to do with what we're talking about today
Mm-hmm.
in a loosely related way.
But still.
Yeah. So tonight's one is actually my pick. I saw this documentary on Netflix. The way they did it, I mean, it was great. It's like 2 episodes, and it's just a wild story. I mean,
Yeah.
that's all I can really say about it.
Unbelievable.
And for clarity for our listeners, so we have never and will never do a review of a Netflix show or a review of a Netflix movie. This is simply happens to be the same story. So this is a deep dive into the story, which also happened to be featured on Netflix.
Which is kind of cool when Netflix does have something, so it's easier for people when they hear this.
Sure.
They can reference that.
Or maybe they've watched this.
Yes.
And
And
you come
then,
back.
it's
And
pretty neat.
And for this, like, it's a documentary, so it's all the real people, all the real footage.
Yep.
Everything is actually legit. It's not like a reenactment
Yep.
or like a director took liberties and like, oh, we're going to change this. No, this is actual footage of the interviews and the police interrogations.
And to see the people brings it
the
like
real
closer.
people in the story. Yeah. So it was just really well done, and it's the disappearance of Aundria Bowman.
Yeah.
And the Netflix show is called Into the Fire.
It was, thanks to doing the story. So I had done all the research and done all the write-up of this. But, just for your sake, David, and just to keep the continuity together, I did watch the Netflix series. And I was happy to find that I really dug deep on this. So I'm glad I got everything I had gotten. That was, I should say, everything that I had done was also included in the documentary.
Mm-hmm.
But again, for everyone's sake, because I know it's going to be referenced, I'm glad that I watched it at the end. But part of me isn't.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was. This was a dark one, man. Like, this was really fucking dark.
See,
Yeah,
these
it
are
definitely was.
Yeah, these are the ones sometimes where people are like, oh, I like that episode, but it was kind of,
It's a downer.
yeah. I mean, and when we get into it, the deeper you get into it, I don't know, it kind of scares you in a way that.
Well, we don't want to give away what happened. Maybe she
No.
was found.
I think,
Maybe
we're
she
just
wasn't.
shooting the shit. We're just talking.
I know what you mean, though.
Yeah, there was definitely some darkness in this. But that's why we're in the basement, right?
Yep.
So let's dive into the disappearance of Aundria Bowman. Now, we can't talk about Aundria Bowman without first meeting Kathy Turkanian. So Kathy Turkanian, whose maiden name remains unknown to us, was born in 1958. She was one of 6 kids, born to 3 different fathers and her mother, Shirley.
Wait, rewind that.
She had 5 siblings to 3 different baby daddies.
Okay.
Same mom, 3 dudes.
3 daddies.
Think of it as 3 dudes, 1 cup.
Okay.
Yeah.
Same mom, 3 daddies.
Yep.
Yeah.
6 offspring.
Okay.
Kathy's stepfather, who was, by now, her mother's 3rd seed bearer, served in the Navy. Now, due to his Navy employ, her stepfather was gone for lengthy periods of time, leaving Kathy's mother with the obligation to care for the 6 kids.
So it's like one of the village people.
Yeah.
In the Navy.
Indeed.
Mhm.
Yes.
Although I'm guessing more heterosexual.
Maybe.
Maybe.
In the Navy.
In the Navy. By the time Kathy was in 7th grade, her family had relocated 7 times. I guess that's Navy life for you.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Kathy claims to have been abused at the age of 10 by the husband of one of her mother's friends. Also, she claims to have been raped by a fellow schoolmate at the age of 12.
Rough
But-
start there.
That's a rough start. But drawn to the allure of the counterculture at the time, and by counterculture I mean hippies,
Mm-hmm.
and tired of what she claims was physical abuse from her mother, Kathy ran away from home in 1972 at the age of 14. She hitchhiked to Tennessee, then made her way to New Orleans on a bus. So I guess she had a contact in Tennessee. I don't know if it was some friend, maybe somebody lived local. Again, she'd moved 7 goddamn times.
Yeah.
That's a tough upbringing from the first line that you told us there with like three different baby daddies.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a lot of like a triad warm up on that one.
So I don't know if they even said in the documentary, and I couldn't find it in my research, but was she born in Virginia, like Norfolk area as well?
That would make sense.
Because her dad being in the Navy and stuff like that.
It would make sense, but at the same time, this chick relocated 7
All
fucking
over the
times.
place.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
don't know for sure about that one.
Yeah.
It would be a happy coincidence.
And Turkanian, there was a coach. I
Yeah.
think it was Tarkanian.
UNLV.
UNLV. Yeah, he
Yeah.
chewed on the towel.
Yep.
Yeah, Jerry Tarkanian.
Yeah.
That's what I was
Tark
thinking.
the Shark,
Yes.
they would call
But
him.
this is Turkanian.
You know, he was supposed to be the coach of the Lakers.
Oh, for real?
Yeah.
Back in the 70s or what?
Correct. Like when the Lakers started becoming huge, and I mean huge, like basically when Magic Johnson came on,
Okay.
he was supposed to have been the coach, and like the mob, everybody, well, not the mob, I'm sorry, everybody wanted him. He was being lobbied so hard and paid so heavily and so handsomely
Mhm.
to go to the Lakers.
Impressed, Zap. That was Jerry West, actually. Yeah, he did want him for the coach.
The mob stepped in and said, fuck no, you are not leaving Las Vegas to go to LA.
They didn't want him to leave UNLV.
Correct.
I wonder if he was like the inside for the betting. And
Could have
all that.
been like fixing
Whatever
games.
it was, man.
Yes.
It was the mob
Yes.
the mob that kept him at UNLV.
Fun fact, UNLV football. Now, we're recording tonight as Tuesday night. This
Tuesday.
Friday.
Taco Tuesday.
Taco Tuesday. This Friday, UNLV's football team is actually ranked. They're playing Boise State in a Friday night game. UNLV's football team is usually never ranked.
Right.
Known for the
No.
basketball, football team, not so much. So by the time this comes out, we'll know if they win or not. They'll probably drop out and
yeah.
lose. But
Boise State, the Broncos, they play on a, do you know what color their turf is?
blue.
Yes,
Yeah,
a
it's
blue turf.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, this girl, back to this, rough upbringing,
sure.
teenager now on the run.
Yeah. She met
And-
up with an old college, or again, a childhood friend. Again, you move 7 times, you're going to meet people.
Mm-hmm.
She had a contact in Tennessee and basically was like, look, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. And so she ran away
Mm-hmm.
and made her way to Tennessee. Her friend in Tennessee. So she hitched her way to Tennessee.
Mm.
And then her friend gave her some money or hooked her up with some clothes or whatever. And then she took a Greyhound bus to New Orleans.
New Orleans.
Mm.
And some shit can go down there for sure. Mardi Gras,
That was
all
the
that, Bourbon Street.
that was the draw for her to go down there. That when she went to Tennessee, she either her friend mentioned it or somebody she met on maybe while she was hitching said, "Oh, look, if you want to go someplace, fun or exciting, whatever, they're celebrating Mardi Gras down in New Orleans."
New
So
Orleans.
with nothing but her clothes on her back and some pocket change. What does she got to lose?
But that's crazy. You're saying like by the time she was in 7th grade, so what's that, like 12?
13 maybe.
13.
Yeah.
She's moved 7 times.
Yeah,
Mhm.
So she doesn't have like, you don't have any stable friends, no stable place to call home.
yeah. Military life is tough. It can
is.
be.
It really is.
It can be if you're low enough amongst the ranks, or if you're deployed to this, that, and the other thing. I mean, there's so many different variables that can affect it. I mean, there is the propensity for you to move around. Anyways, now in New Orleans, Kathy became friends with a guy named Randy Badger, who was a 19-year-old who would hitchhike his way to New Orleans from Los Angeles. They quickly located a place to stay and found work together in a sideshow at a circus.
That can never be good.
No. Can you imagine?
Yeah.
I think of Christmas Vacation, and Randy Quaid's talking about his kid, like, you know, currently he's spreading pixie dust, but on the whatever. But then he's going to operate the tilt-a-whirl.
Yeah.
Yeah. In December 1972, Kathy and Randy left for South Carolina to get married, as it was permissible at the time for a minor to marry with consent from their parents. Kathy reconnected with her parents, obtained the necessary consent, and she and Randy were soon married. Now, that's December 72. So
It's 14.
she's 14, bro.
Wow.
15. Let's say 14 going on 14 going on 15.
Wow.
But I still think in some states, like the age of consent with your parents' permission is 13.
Still?
Yeah, I think still. Like there's a lot of states that never changed those
Those
laws. Yes, from back in the day.
There's a friend of mine, his wife was married. Her first marriage, she was married at 16. Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, that's out of Appalachia section.
Yeah, but if you're like back in the day though, like Will and Wallace times and shit.
Sure.
It was no big deal.
You'd be like
yeah.
20 and your wife would be like 11.
Well, that's the thing. By the time, you're over the hill by the time you're 15.
Yeah, you're
Yeah.
dead. You're dead. If you lived to like 33, they're like, wow, look at this old guy.
Yeah, you're an
Yeah.
elder.
Yeah.
Well, they wear them white wigs and they look old, wooden teeth.
But this is 1700s.
Wooden teeth.
yeah.
I meant back in like, what Wallace times. What was that, like the 1500s? Something like that?
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know.
But it was a great movie.
Yeah.
All right. Within their first year of marriage, Kathy discovered she was pregnant. On June 23rd, 1974, Kathy and Randy welcomed their daughter, Alexis Badger, into the world. Alas, soon after Alexis's birth, Kathy and Randy's relationship quickly deteriorated.
No.
I'm shocked.
Wow.
While Kathy took care of Alexis and worked, her husband appeared more interested in going out to parties with friends and other women. Kathy had enough one day when she arrived home from work. Well, that's true.
You're like, Kathy had enough one day.
One day.
That's it.
That was
She's
it.
enough.
One day she'd had enough when she arrived home from work and discovered Randy kissing an unknown woman on their couch as Alexis cried by herself in the back room. Kathy made the decision to go and took Alexis with her. The two made their way to Virginia to reconnect with Kathy's mother and stepfather.
Yep, back in Norfolk.
Correct.
Yep.
So they made their way. She made her way back to Norfolk after going to Tennessee, then going to New Orleans, then going to South Carolina, then going back.
Yeah, I mean, when you're that young, not to say that people don't do it and can't do it, but that's awfully young to be having kids and trying to
Yes,
for sure.
to raise a child and stuff like that.
Look,
so,
the circus life is hard, bro.
well, for sure.
I mean, you're going to see a lot of passersby.
Right.
When you're spreading pixie dust on the tilt-a-whirl, you're going to see a lot of available young ladies. What it happened to Joe Dirt
Yeah.
when he's spraying Pam into the cups for on the bottles for the ring toss.
But some of the stories we have, it trips me out though. For like back in the day, these dudes were like, "Why don't you just come back to my house?"
Yeah.
Because like, aren't you married? Yeah, it's cool. It's
no
cool.
big deal, yeah.
just come and watch a movie.
It's cool. She's working.
It's cool,
All we
yeah.
gotta- look, I'll put the kid in the back room without. So
yeah, the kid you'll hear him cry, but that's no big deal.
I neglected to mention the baby was when again. This is according to Kathy. This is Kathy's story, Kathy Turkanian's story. When she came home and found Randy, in flagrante delicto. The kid Alexis was in the back without a diaper, just basically naked and just crying like
herself.
daddy,
Pooping
whatever.
on herself.
Yeah, it's just a baby, for God's sake.
And one of
Take
them-
care of your kids.
But he was just trying to get lucky.
Keep your goddamn babies off the street.
one of those little pack and play looking things back then. We didn't have pack and plays, but they were like little. I guess they weren't pack and plays back then.
No, we had cribs.
They were like cribs.
Yeah, we're
but-
just putting cribs.
MTV cribs?
MTV
Yeah.
cribs.
No.
Is that what they were called? Like I know
Yeah,
there's. I've seen
cribs.
pictures of me like in the. I thought it was more
Bassinet.
Like yeah, maybe that's
No,
what
man,
it
it's
is.
a crib.
Is that what it was?
No, we had cribs. We didn't have the pack and play type thing.
I felt like there was something like that though back in the 70s. Like I had pictures of that with that, you know, the big bottle. You know what I mean? Like, and I don't think it was my crib. Maybe it was. Though.
Isn't a crib basically a mattress surrounded by the four walls?
The bars.
The bars.
But I felt like this thing was like bigger.
So
like
you're
maybe
my Uncle
like
Joey.
maybe
Better
like
get used to these bars, kid.
Maybe like a day crib or something. I don't know. Something they put you in just to
I think
lock you up.
my dad would like tie a balloon around me so he could see where I was at.
See where you're
I was
at.
like, when I was like crawling around the house.
Right.
Somebody remind me what's a pack and play?
It's just a foldable,
like a
crib.
foldable, like a crib, but it's a
Bigger.
little bit bigger.
You
but
get play
when
space.
when you want to contain the kid, you'd put them in the pack and play
Okay.
because they can, you know, they kind of look out over the top.
Is there balls in there?
You can throw
you can
stuff.
you
in
can
there.
do whatever you want in there.
It's padded.
You can do whatever you want in
Yeah.
there.
You can. It's like a
You're
party
a grown
place.
ass baby.
Yeah, it's just like a big mesh kind of pack and play. Yeah, it's just like a big mesh crib.
Okay.
but bigger to me.
No.
What like 5x5 maybe?
Mm. But that's what I envision, like her, like at this time back in like a pack and play, and the dad's out there hooking up.
The joys of parenting.
Yes.
And not in the, he threw her in a crib.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and this is shitty Randy just wanting to get his wiggles out with just random whores,
Yeah.
hookers. By now, Kathy's mom, Shirley, had been diagnosed with breast cancer and was given 5 years to live. In Shirley's eyes, Kathy's return meant that there would now be someone to look after all the other children Shirley had birthed. Realizing that a 16-year-old runaway is in no shape to be a mother, let alone a caregiver for her younger siblings after her mother's forthcoming death, Kathy offered her infant up for adoption. Shirley took care of all of the arrangements.
Surely she couldn't do it by herself.
Yeah.
Shirley, you can't be serious.
Yes.
Right.
I am, and stop
Don't
calling
call
me
me Shirley.
Don't call me Shirley.
Shirley.
At 10 months old, Alexis was adopted by Dennis and Brenda Bowman of Holland, Michigan, via a closed adoption. Kathy was 17 at the time, and Kip Winger would approve.
Absolutely.
The Bowmans changed Alexis's name to Aundria and began their life as a family, thanks to the miracle of adoption. Meanwhile, forsaking her siblings and the thought of having to care for her ailing mother, Kathy left home again not long after the adoption was completed, hoping for things to go differently this time. After a number of odd jobs, Kathy enrolled in nursing school. While in school, she met Ed Turkanian, with whom she shacked up not long after and married 10 months after meeting.
Yeah, at that time, Kathy was like in her 30s, I think, like early 30s when she met this Turkanian character and got married.
Yep.
And, so she had given it up, the daughter, for adoption. Her mother kind of cornered her, she said, on that documentary and kind of like talked her into doing it. She's like, it's going to be a better life.
Yeah, you need to give the kid a better life.
There's so I see that, but there's the reason that I did this without watching that documentary. The only side that you got in that documentary was Kathy's side. That is truly the only side of this story.
Well, I'm sure the mother's not around to defend herself, or you know what I mean?
Or doesn't want to be seen. Definitely doesn't want. You're saying the adopted mother.
No.
What's her name? Shirley. Yeah,
she had passed away, so you're only ever going to get,
right.
Kathy's side, I think, at this point, unless the mother documented it back then. You
of
know
course.
what I mean? But, I mean, yeah, absolutely. This is all from her perspective. The
Netflix series.
Yes.
Right.
And the thing with the closed adoption also is they don't have any contact with the parents. Like I think these days they try to make more of like an open adoption, where like the parents that are giving the kid away are still like involved with the child. I think back in the 70s, 80s, the closed adoption was more the thing that you did.
Yeah.
But now today, go ahead.
No, I'm sorry. Go ahead. I want to cut you off. Go ahead.
No, I'm just today with like the DNAs and all that stuff. Like
you're gonna
also,
find out,
you can find out.
Yep. I can certainly see the merit in a closed adoption where it's like, look, you don't want to confuse this kid.
Mm-hmm.
Like you chose to give up this kid. Like, if I'm two parents, right? Or if I'm one of two parents, thank you for, number one, thank you for not aborting this kid. Two, thank you for enabling me with the ability to, have a child in my life and raise and rear a child. If for whatever reason, either I can't have kids or I just want to add to my existing family. There's a good friend of ours that we went to high school with, whom we went to high school. He and his wife have a couple of kids of their own, and they ended up adopting like 5 or 6 kids in addition to their own.
Wow.
Wow.
Huge family, huge, and it's great. Loves them.
That was through the Norfolk, Virginia Adoption Agency, and it was like a Catholic organization.
Catholic charities. Yeah.
That they're the ones that, and the mother was like, look, this is going to be the best for you and for the kid.
Yeah.
Do it now while the kid's young, like 9, 10 months old or whatever it was, because you have a better chance of her getting adopted and into a good family.
And so that's for sure. I mean, you see the commercials now, but I neglected to mention. So with the concept of closed adoption, it's like, look, again, thank you for the kid. Thank you. But let's not confuse this kid, right? Mm-hmm. Thank you for birthing, but get the fuck out of my life now. You've given up the kid. It's mine to raise. Thank you very much.
Yeah, once you sign it off like that, I think that's when it becomes closed. There's no...
Sure, there's absolutely, like, case is closed for sure. But yeah, but Matt, to your point, though, a closed adoption is like, no peeky, no sight. I as the giving, as the giver, I don't know who the recipient is.
Yes, exactly.
And vice versa.
And it's very hard to find out until like today, where you said it. I mean, they do that DNA. It's all you can find out. Oh, this person is my dad.
Yeah, we're connected.
Sure.
Yeah, for sure. And we've been through we've got friends of ours. Well, that has gone significantly awry.
Bad. Yeah.
Yes,
definitely bad. Like so. Just with Christmas right around the corner. Good idea is to not buy your family like
23andMe,
a 23andMe package or whatever the fuck that is. Heritage. I don't even know what these things are called.
So you find out your dad had actually 23 kids and you.
Yeah, so 23andMe.
You're like, wow, it's 23andMe.
Is that what that meant?
Yes.
Does that mean I hit the lottery?
It might be.
All right. Several years later, when Aundria was 13 years old and now in high school, Dennis and Brenda experienced another miracle when, against all odds, Brenda became pregnant. Vanessa Bowman would be born 9 months later, adding another layer of joy to the Bowman home. By now, Aundria had become somewhat of a problem child. She'd run away from home a few times and stayed at friends' houses. She'd gotten busted for petty shoplifting, and she was prone to fits of rage with her mother, at one point putting her fist through a plate of glass in a door at the Bowman's residence. The Bowmans tried their best with counseling, but nothing seemed to work. On March 11th, 1989, Aundria Bowman went missing. Dennis had returned home from taking his wife to work that evening and discovered that a piece of luggage, $100, and his adopted daughter were nowhere to be found. The whole town went on high alert searching for Aundria. A number of people from varying locations relayed sightings of Aundria to police. Everywhere from roller rinks to truck stops to strip joints to out-of-state locations. Alas, none of the sightings led anywhere. The case of Aundria's disappearance went cold not long after. So that's got to be fucked up.
Oh, yeah, big time. I mean, for a kid to go missing and she was having problems, I guess, at that time. They said, like, she was acting out and doing different things.
Yeah,
but a teenager.
Yeah, just being a teenager. So things like that go on. But fun fact on this missing person. Yeah. So do you guys remember the song Runaway Train? Soul Asylum.
Runaway Train,
yes.
Never Going Back.
I do know, and I do want to know where this is going. You mentioned it earlier, but I know. Go ahead, please.
So Soul Asylum had this song, Runaway Train, came out in 1993. They made 3 videos for the United States and videos for other countries. Now, the video of the band was all the same, but cut within the music and the video were missing people. And Aundria Bowman was one of the people profiled in the video that released in the United States, one of the 3.
That is amazing.
That song, for some reason, back in the day, I hated it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, for some reason, not because of this case or anything like that, but over the past few years, I've heard that song and really listened to the lyrics.
Yeah,
and lyrically, like, I really, really like that song. Like, that guy was super talented. It's a really great song. But yeah, I went online to look up the video on YouTube, and I can't find the one with her, but there is a cut of one with her, and they probably released them like the Midwest, where all the kids from the Midwest that went missing, West Coast, maybe, and East Coast. So it's out there.
Huh.
I just thought that was an interesting fact.
That is an interesting fact. Side fun fact, Soul Asylum has another track that came out of the same album, Somebody to Shove.
Yeah,
dude,
on somebody
to shove.
When I hear that song and I'm driving, dude, that's one of those where I just hit the fucking gas and I'm just singing it and banging on my steering wheel. Like, that's just a good track, man.
Somebody to shove me.
The guitar hook in that just really just gets me going. It's quite good.
But the whole thing with her acting out and things like that, like when people would say this, she's just an 80s kid, you know, and like her friends even said like the dad was kind of mean or kind of weird, but that's just stuff that you say.
Yeah, that's, you know, and look, that's what kids do. You know, I have, so fun fact, in case we didn't cover it already. So I was adopted and I had parents that are, and still have, or at least one of them, a full generation removed. So I showed up on my parents' doorstep when my dad was like 40 or 41 years old versus, let's say, very early 20s, which puts him, again, that generation out.
Right.
So it was almost like being raised by grandparents, almost. Young enough, but really borderline getting raised by grandparents. So, dude, as an only child with these older parents, I pushed so many envelopes. And I'm sure that I was, again, as an only child, look, you're going to seek attention. You're going to be a class clown. You're going to do this, that, and the other thing. Dude, I got away with so much shit. And I mean, I can see how this girl's like just lashing out or, you know, not able to get along with her parents, or knowing if she knew that she was adopted, maybe there, you know, as she's entering these, this is puberty, by the way. She's just getting into puberty. You know, so much emotional change and whatnot. I can certainly see this going on. I don't know about the runaway per se, but you know, hey, look, push comes to shove. You know, if you think you can do it better, go ahead. Same thing like your mother. You know, in this case, you know, Kathy, she ran away. She thought she knew everything. And what happened? She came back a few years later with her tail between her legs. Kids are going to learn. Right. Oh yeah, Trey, you going to learn.
And we're about her age, or would have been around her age. So she was born in 74. I'm 75, and I'm into 70. You're 76. So this is all within that same era. They had her friends on there talking about Aundria back in junior high and how they listened to Madonna. And I mean, she was having a decent life, but behind it all, was everything going well? I guess we'll find out.
Apparently, it wasn't going well enough for her to stick around at home.
Right.
All right. More than 20 years would pass when, in 2010, an armchair sleuth by the name of Carl Kopelman would prove to be the biggest catalyst in a monumental breakthrough. Though an accountant by trade, finding missing people had become both a hobby and a passion for him. Kopelman had been researching varying missing person cases when he came across a potential match which, after 10 years, had yet to be solved. An unidentified woman had been discovered dead in a cornfield in Wisconsin on July 21st, 1999. Using her estimated age and the location of her discovery, Kopel matched the unidentified woman to 13 possible women who'd gone missing. Kopelman contacted authorities with his discoveries. One of the women who fit the parameters for Kopelman's match was none other than Aundria Bowman. A quick dive into her birth records revealed that she had been adopted, and her birth mother, Kathy Turkanian, was soon after contacted by the adoption agency, requesting a DNA test.
There it is.
35 years had passed since Kathy had last seen the daughter she put up for adoption. So, holy shit. Like, can you imagine?
No, I know.
Being this woman, being just this Kathy broad, 35 years after she had a baby, gave it up for adoption. She gets a letter from the adoption agency. Now, I'm wrapping my head around, what does she think is in that letter before she opens it, right?
Yeah.
Like, this is me. If I grew up or if I was born in Chicago, right? So if I lived there 1 year of my life, the first year of my life, if I got a letter from whatever adoption agency I was at while in Chicago, I wouldn't know what the fuck's in there. I couldn't imagine. Like, is this, I don't know, did I just find out that, the people that birthed me died and they left all of this money to me? Or did they find out that I had a brother or a sister I never knew about? Or, you know it. Like, Christ, this is like, I don't like, let's make a deal. Like, who knows what's in that envelope?
That Carl, too, that was an interesting thing that they brought up about him. He had, there was a website called Web Sleuths that, like, him and there's a bunch of people like that are like armchair detectives. Yeah. And they would go on there and, like, piece these cases together. And they would actually, like this one, I mean, they would come up with some connections and stuff that police were overlooking, or, they were helpful in a lot of these investigations. Now, this particular Jane Doe they found was in Racine, I think is how you say it, Wisconsin, which is directly across Lake Michigan from where
it was right across the lake there.
The lake,
it was directly west, directly west of where these guys were.
Well, what gets me also is about a lot of these true crimes that we do, or if you listen to podcasts about true crimes, a lot of these are these armchair sleuths that reopen these cases or get like a lot of these cold cases, I guess they call them, or these people at home doing this on their spare time, and you're kind of wondering, where are the detectives, or like, is this just stuff that the cops in these areas are just like, we can't find it, it's good, like they give up on it? Is it because if these people are finding this stuff on the internet, it seems like it's out there. There's enough information to follow up.
Well, think about it. Like, there's probably maybe 1 or 2 detectives, maybe, I'm just saying, working on this versus maybe 100 people that are online, putting all this information together. And you start piecing it together. Like, if you got 100 people working on it versus like 2 detectives that are maybe like, I'm not saying that's what they were doing with this, but I'm sure.
But like the Don't Fuck with Cats one, they remember that too?
That
was
a perfect example.
Yeah,
and
like
I was
these
totally
people
thinking
are
about
out there.
that.
Yeah, and that's what I was thinking of also and they're just doing these things online, talking to different people, and all of a sudden you're like really putting things together.
Well, I'll tell you, for instance, if you do anything nowadays because of the internet and camera phones and everything else, people are going to track you down. There was a game, NFL game, the Washington Commanders were playing. Who was in town? I'm trying to remember. Oh, they were in Baltimore. So the Commanders played Baltimore last week. After the game, there were 2 Commander fans that were walking down the street in Baltimore, and this dude in a Ravens jersey was hunting down anybody in Commander's gear.
Okay.
He found these 2 guys and beat the shit out of them.
Jesus Christ.
So this guy's filming it. This other guy's filming it, and they're cheering and stuff, and they're like, yeah, get them all, you know what I mean? Well, within a day, they found out who the guy was, where he worked, everything else. This guy got fired from his job.
Of course.
And he's getting, charged with assault and everything else. So with the internet and with, like, people working, like, nonstop, cross-referencing photos with, Facebook and everything else, you're going to track everybody down.
Yeah, these are like today's crossword puzzles because you have so much.
Dude, I was just going to say.
You're just sitting there. It's like a hobby.
That's the thing.
Let me sit down.
Matt, I swear to God and Sonny Jesus, I was going to say this is some people work on crossword puzzles, some people work on this.
It's just something to do. It's a hobby.
Matt,
bowling.
Just like bowling. Man, I swear to God and Sonny Jesus, we are going to start bowling.
Yes.
That's a New Year's resolution before the New Year.
Mm-hmm.
When you have these cases like this, both of you, when you mentioned, like, how does this not get solved? How can non-professionals or people who are doing this as a hobby, like Don't Fuck with Cats, or like in this particular instance, as we're going to learn, how do these things get solved by people who are not the police, not investigators, not professionally trained people? And I think it comes down to the simple inverse of the relationship of people to cases. So if you have a whatever kind of detective who might have been in Racine County or Racine Town, Wisconsin, who is finding this, and it's 1 or 2 people that are working on X number of cases.
Right.
So if you have 1 or 2 people working on, call it 10 cases, 15 cases. Conversely, if you have 10 or 15 people working on 1 or 2 cases, right? It's just the inverse of cases to investigators. Sure, you're going to come up with a result. It's like, if you devote all of your assets and abilities and all of that shit to one goal, you're going to get there. You absolutely get there. And it's just the thing. There's so many missing people. There's so many dead bodies. There's only so much that any 1 or 2 people can handle.
But it is a case on case basis. So in these small towns, they're getting more cases on, and this is one that's kind of cold for now. So we got to put that to the side. This just happened a week ago. We need to put all of our forces on this.
That's right.
We can solve it maybe.
It's just like any place, like with you need to hire more people.
It's a first in, first out method, man. You got.
Yeah, they're only allowed to have 3 detectives on cold cases, so they're working on things, and this stuff gets put to the side. I get it.
This Carl, too, like you mentioned, Zab, and you could probably talk about this, is he was an accountant. So he would use his knowledge of spreadsheets and working with all that to build these spreadsheets of cold case like people that were missing versus where they're from versus their birth dates. And he was able to use that to his advantage to build this database. It was amazing, like watching this guy put it together.
It's all data driven. So, and this was done back in 2010.
Right.
2010, this guy was working on. So by now, you're talking a few months more than 14 years ago. Since then, there have been incredible, and I mean incredible, advances in databases and the use of databases. Now, databases themselves, sure, they existed long before 2010, but manipulating and twisting them around, pivot tables, you name it, being able to find and search and link data to itself, I mean, that has come hugely a long way since then.
And think about AI getting involved.
Correct. And this guy's just some dude twerking around on a spreadsheet. Like, not for nothing, I'll certainly pat her on the back. My wife is the spreadsheet queen. I mean, the queen of spreadsheet. Everything involves a spreadsheet. It has to.
Right.
It's just what she does. And so, look, you give her a cold case, she'll figure it out.
They had a Jane Doe, like we said. They had a picture of the face of this Jane Doe that they released. He had developed some software, did something where he was able to take pictures of the different girls and overlay the eyes.
See, yeah, the eyes were similar.
Yeah,
He said the nose has a little bit of a button.
Yeah, and the nose was like longer and this and that. And he was like, this is a possible match. So everything they're looking at is like, this might be Aundria Bowman. But we'll find out, I guess.
But even them to even go and ping things in like the area, like that cops aren't necessarily looking. They're looking in their area, but then like, oh, this thing happened. Like, oh, right over here.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It all makes sense. You know, she disappeared here, but this Aundria disappeared here, and look, right across the lake here, right across the lake is that we find this body that matches this look, matches this description, matches everything is lining up. Seems to make sense. Let's contact. She fits the parameters. Let's contact this broad's birth mother and get some DNA on the scene.
Yep.
Well, to Kathy's relief, the DNA test proved that the missing woman found dead in the Wisconsin cornfield more than 10 years earlier was not Aundria Bowman. Still, Kathy remained devastated to learn that the baby she'd put up for adoption all those years ago had not only gone missing, but had also run away from home at the age of 14, just like she'd done. Kathy was now on a mission. Find out what happened to her missing offspring. Kathy began her search via Facebook, establishing a Find Aundria Bowman page. Replies came pouring in from Aundria's childhood friends. Kathy would soon discover that the tales of Aundria's misgivings as a teen weren't the whole story. Meeting with Aundria's old friends and extended family, it turns out Aundria wasn't the only one guilty of wrongdoing. Allegations of physical abuse from both Dennis and Brenda began to surface, as did allegations of sexual abuse on the part of Dennis.
Yeah, this is where it started to get interesting for me. At this point of the story in the documentary, I was like, okay, there's something going on here. There was actually a girl that reached out. Her name was Meta, kind of like it's spelled METTA, not like Meta, the Facebook thing, but
like the new Facebook.
Yeah, no pun intended with Facebook. But she reached out to Kathy and was like, "Hey, I lived in the same town as your daughter, the same year as your daughter. I was abducted. I was 6 years old, and I was abducted, taken out into the woods, and basically sexually assaulted." Now, she had said, I think whoever did that to me probably was the one that abducted your daughter. Like the chances of two different people in that area, like abducting kids and doing things like
given the small town perspective, the chance of having two different creepers right around that same time was slim to none.
Right.
And what's crazy about Meta's story too is that she had that sketch.
Right.
Remember, she had a sketch from back in the day when she was abducted. And like you said, she was told to go into the woods, a man in a car. I guess he didn't rape her.
He did. He sexually assaulted her, but he got cut off because there were dogs barking.
Yes. Okay. Then the people in the area, because it was by a campground.
Yeah.
I believe.
And he got like, he was like, oh shit, you know what I mean?
How did he get this chick into the woods?
So the girl was like 6 years old.
Okay.
And she was walking like at 6 years old, which I couldn't believe, but her parents, I guess she was walking to a friend's house.
In the 80s?
In the 80s.
Yeah, come on, Dave. You were walking to your friend's house, and that was in the city.
True. So he had stopped and he's like, hey, little girl, I know your mother, and she told me to pick you up because I'm going to take you to see some puppies. And the little girl was like, oh,
yeah, I love puppies.
That sounds awesome. Sure. You know my mom? Yeah, get in the truck. It's a red pickup truck. She gets in, and they're driving, and she's like, well, when are we going to get to the farm? We're almost there, this and that. And after a while, like, his demeanor changed. And she said, like, and she remembers all this. Obviously, it was a traumatic event.
Yeah.
Very traumatic event. So this happened to her. He ran off, left her there. She walked naked out to the road, and some people found her and took her to the authorities, and she gave her story. It was in the paper. They had a sketch of this individual, and she was like, I think our stories are connected. Whoever did this to Aundria, if she did go missing by abduction, I think is connected to me.
And like you said, it was within like a 5-mile range or something. It's so close.
Right.
Like wherever it was went right by this house for some reason.
Right.
Very
So
strange.
we'll let you get into the next thing, and then we'll elaborate more on that.
So that's okay. That's
Yeah.
wild ass shit.
It's definitely going to come back into the story. So
Interesting. So wait, before we go, Matt mentioned something about a sketch. A sketch of who or what?
of the abductor,
She had a sketch that she sat down at the age of what, 6, right?
she was 6.
Yeah. And
Oh, with like the police guy. that-
Right.
a police sketch, and it showed like this guy had like a mustache and like his eyes.
He just looked like. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. Like it looked like probably a lot of dudes in
Yeah,
that
yeah.
area.
General sketch of some dude in the 80s.
From the 80s.
It wasn't very easy to like.
Which for
narrow
damn sure,
down.
I mean, he had a mustache.
Right, which everybody did back. then.
100%.
Yeah. And a red pickup truck
And a red picture.
Yeah, who
and a
doesn't have a
hat.
pickup truck
Yeah.
and a hat?
in Michigan.
Yeah, and sideburns. And skin. All right. Well,
With eyes and a nose.
yeah, exactly.
And ears. He had 2 ears.
Exactly. So I guess Kathy is now this birthing mother is now on a mission to find out, what's going on. I want to find out more about Andrea's background, and she's talking to her friends. And in addition to that meta chick you'd mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
There's all of these some of the, if not all of the childhood friends that you mentioned earlier. With they're dancing in the room. Girls just want to have fun.
They came out
Having a good time, and they said, well, look, man, no, there's more to this than you think. There's she would complain to us that her dad or her mom just beat the shit out of her, or they would malnourish, or this, that, or the other thing, like shit meals or crap meals or something like that.
Yeah, a lot of her friends were saying going over there were some things that her dad did that alarmed them.
Right.
Like, or just how scared she was if the dad and the mother wouldn't do anything.
Right.
And I think she was like they were a very Christian family,
Sure.
or
quote
unquote.
Dude,
Yeah.
this chick, the Dennis's wife, Brenda, there is no doubt, she was an absolutely 100%
The stand by your man, Patsy Cline type.
Correct.
Schnizzle.
I mean, devoted wife,
Mhm.
absolutely devoted wife.
Yep.
He could have cut her limbs off. Dennis could have cut Brenda's arms and legs off, and she would still love him
She
to
would
death.
pray
Be
for
like,
him.
oh, thank you.
That's right. She would have prayed for him. That's right.
Thank you, man. I have another.
Yeah.
There's a bright side to it, I'm sure. But yeah, it's. I guess it's the onion starting to peel. In fact,
Mm-hmm.
it wasn't long before the onion began to peel further. Aundria had been given the opportunity to share her tale of woe a number of times, and she'd done just that with other parents, teachers, social workers, and the like. The problem lied in no one believing her, or no one believing the Bowmans could be as callous as Aundria described. When Aundria ran away, she took almost none of her belongings. No purse, no extra clothes, no nothing. And soon after Aundria's disappearance, the Bowmans moved to a new residence in a different part of town. Kathy's curiosity was at a fever pitch. Something just didn't make sense. With allegations of impropriety on the part of the Bowmans on her mind, Kathy did some digging into Dennis Bowman's history. Of course, with the help of Carl Kopelman, Kathy was able to discover a murky past in Dennis's life. In 1980, Dennis pleaded guilty to assault with intent to commit sexual misconduct after trying to lure a teenage girl into the woods outside of town at gunpoint. He was forced to miss his official arraignment because he was in Norfolk, Virginia at the time for a 2-week military drill. Anyway, for this crime, he served 5 years in prison. Aundria was 11 years old when he was released. In 1998, and this is long after Aundria had disappeared, Dennis was arrested for breaking and entering into a co-worker's home, from which he'd stolen lingerie. He was sentenced to and served 1 year in county jail. Kathy was convinced that there was more to Aundria's disappearance than just her running away. She was also convinced that Dennis Bowman had something to do with it.
Finding all that information on Dennis, there's a thing called the FOIA, Freedom of
Freedom of
Information.
Information,
Yeah,
yep.
so they were able to dig all that up on him So back to what we were talking about earlier. Now that we kind of know this about Dennis,
In Pennsylvania, we call that right to know.
right to know,
Yeah.
right? So back to what we were talking about, this Meta, right? So they have this Facebook page with all these pictures, and Aundria, help us find her. Here's a picture of her family. Here's clips of her parents talking about her, and this and that.
Yep.
This Meta goes, I know that guy, the dad. I recognize him. That's the guy that abducted me when I was 6 years old.
So she saw a picture of this guy that Kathy.
mhm.
Yes. And then she heard his voice and said, that's his voice.
that's
I'll
him.
never forget the voice. And that red pickup truck, sure enough, family members, they get with him like, hey, this Dennis, like, did he ever have a red? He indeed had a red pickup truck, beat up red pickup truck
Holy
back in
shit.
the day. So allegedly, he had abducted the 6-year-old and, sexually assaulted her and
Meta.
all that. Yeah, Meta.
But Meta is not the girl for which he actually pleaded guilty to assault with intent to commit sexual misconduct.
No.
Mhm.
That's a completely different one.
These are all different, yeah.
So there was the Meta that they never saw, or at this point that they haven't solved, and then another one in 1980.
Mhm.
So there were 2 incidents. Again, if you include Meta as an incident.
And keep this in the back of your mind. Missing the official arraignment for 2 weeks because he's going to Norfolk, Virginia. So keep that in mind as we move forward. That's going to come up later, I believe. So
Also, when you're talking about when Aundria ran away, like you said, I think she only had like her jacket and a couple other things that were missing, but nothing that somebody that would run away have. But she was also spotted. She was seen.
That's the thing. Yeah.
She was seen at several places. People said,
100%.
yeah, I seen her here. I seen her down there. She was at a bar. Like I've seen that girl. So she's out there missing. So a lot of the cops are like, she's a runaway.
Yeah.
Right.
And she's doing her own thing. She might have got a job. She might have met a man. Like she might be working
What's your
somewhere.
man got to do with me?
Right.
I got some man.
I ain't trying to hear that, see?
But yeah, she's doing her own thing now.
Yeah.
Apparently. So the dad and mom are like, look, like she's a teenager. She ran away. What are we going to do about it?
They were getting called back exactly like you said. And it's not just from, like Red Crown Bowling down the way.
Yeah.
Or some mall down the way. This
Numerous
was from
places.
out of
Yeah.
state.
Out of state
Dude,
stuff.
out of state, people were saying, hey, man, I saw Aundria Bowman. She was here. She was there.
And I'm glad you said out of state because some of the cops are like out of state, out of mind. Like that's not
Not our problem.
It's not our problem
Or
anymore.
our jurisdiction
Yes.
or whatever. There was also something weird. I don't know if this ties to anything, but there was something with the amount of money that was missing, or the $100.
$100.
Yeah, so they had gotten an income tax refund.
But wasn't there something where it went from they changed it from 100? They said no, it was 150 because it changed the investigation or did something. I forget.
What, to make it a crime of she stole something from her parents.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, it had to be a certain amount of money where it was something reportable.
Maybe that's what
Yes,
it was. That they
yes.
had changed it. No,
Mhm.
it was 150. Like they
Mhm.
changed it all of a
Oh,
sudden.
I don't know. Maybe if they're looking for insurance recovery or something.
A reportable crime.
So what I still can't wrap my head around is that the dad came home and found that Aundria was gone, $100 was gone, and a piece of luggage was gone. But yet, all of her clothes were still there.
Yeah, what was in the luggage?
Minus like a jacket and whatever the hell she was wearing at the time.
Mm-hmm.
So what did she need a bag just to throw $100 in?
Right.
I
Yeah,
don't know.
it's
It's-
interesting.
It's not adding up. Something is definitely wrong. And then when I hear about the unsolved or yet to be solved mystery of Meta,
I don't think we can say unsolved mystery, Mike.
well,
Get a hit on. Get a hit for that.
no, I tried my best.
Yeah, I know. It's
I
good,
tried my
though.
very
It's
best
good.
to not overuse the prefix "un." I think it's absolutely misused. Regardless,
Not yet solved.
correct.
Yeah.
Oh, good one.
Correct, I would say not yet solved versus unsolved. That would tell me that, or at least indicate that it had been solved, but now you removed it being solved, so it's not solved anymore. How did that happen?
Right. You unsolved it.
Right.
Right.
Like I
gotcha.
untied or I unwound.
So
okay, I get that.
When did they adopt Aundria? Was
74.
74.
She was 10 months in
So-
1974.
A few years later in 80, this Dennis pleaded guilty to assault.
Correct.
And I guess they were saying the story with that. The guy was shooting at the woman's feet or the girl's feet.
Yeah, he was like, "Get in the wood." Do what I tell you.
do what I tell you. And he was actually that's where the assault deadly weapon.
Yeah, there.
Mm.
Yeah.
And
Dance McFly.
yeah,
Yeah.
so you're figuring wouldn't
Give me a drink.
authorities like wouldn't there be somebody stepping in for like I guess you can't because they illegally adopted the child. That's
Like
something where
protective services.
yes,
or
protected
something
or like the people that gave the kid up for adoption would be like the company or whatever, or I don't know how that's
The
what is-
agency.
agency. Thank you.
I don't know if they follow up though. Like I don't know.
But
Yeah,
wouldn't it be like a 5-10 year?
You think they vet them like ahead of time, and then after that, if you go bad, I guess you go bad.
So
you
it's
know?
not like it's not like the kid didn't have an other parent. So
True,
Right.
they had the mother.
yeah, so while Dennis was in jail for 5 years or whatever, and by the time he got out, Aundria was 11 years old at the time.
Mhm.
She still had Brenda. She still had her mom.
Right.
But yeah, like a sexual misconduct with a children, like a child underage, would be something that I think that's like a red flag.
You would think, but I think it's just like anything. Once you're adopted, that's your child.
That's your
so
child,
they
yeah.
can't-
And the mother,
probably
it's
can't
the
step
mother
in
and the
and-
father's.
It does beg the
Responsibility.
and it does beg the question, right? So this certainly happened after the fact. You know, she was adopted in 75. She was
Mhm.
no late 74,
way.
early 75.
So 5 years, 4 or 5 years after.
So she's 5 or 6 years old at the time when this goes down, or at least when Dennis goes into jail.
Plus, that was in Virginia. She was adopted. Now they're in Michigan.
Right. So let's pretend that we have, a mother and father with biological children, and the father gets busted
Mhm.
for, doing some nasty shit with kids.
Mhm.
So if he goes to jail for 5 years, does that mean when he gets out that he's not allowed to live with his own kids, or he's is he going to lose custody of his kids? Again, he's got a wife who can do it.
You're right. That's the way our system's set up. Like as long as
They have that rule though that you have to register or whatever.
yeah, but you wouldn't register as a sex with your own house with. But see, wouldn't that be yeah?
I'm
like-
not saying I'd be against it. Understand that I'm not saying I'd be against it. It just it does beg the question, like what happens when that happens?
That's what I mean. I think that's a good question because shouldn't the problem be eliminated from the?
If you're a pedophile,
Yeah, you would take the children.
Well, you don't want to take the kids out of the house, but you get out of the house.
But
Like,
also
you should
with-
be there.
With an adopted kid, I think that would be more of a red.
But like I said,
flag.
like once they're adopted, like you are now
you are
the
their parent.
100%.
Yes.
So they
Yes.
can't go, oh, it's different.
Yeah, because that would be another charge against like the
Right.
I don't know.
And like I
state.
said, this is back in the day, and I don't think they were really up on it like they would be now with like just databases and knowing what's going on. They'd be able to keep track of it more now, I believe, and
Well,
obviously,
C2, we are saying, and the way that they would do this in a court, it was a teenage girl, so it wasn't what we were like. Kind of, I was maybe thinking it was younger, but still,
I mean, teenage is still underage.
yes, still
Yeah.
underage, but
Still
the way that
sexual assault, too.
they look at things back then too in the 1980s, I think we're different
yeah,
than what you're trying to do today.
right, yeah, for sure.
That's fair. That's fair. I mean, man, this
Because
is
Right.
oh, she was a young woman, and this guy was trying to lure her.
she was built like Morgana, the kissing bandit.
That's right.
That's right.
Hey guys, can you wrap it up?
Hey, man, we're not even halfway done here.
Jesus Christ.
Oh,
Man, it must be Taco Tuesday.
it must be. Yeah, you're right.
You don't want
So
those.
yummy.
You don't want those shells getting cold.
Well, this is gonna have to be 2.
I guess so, because there's
Yeah.
still there's still so much to unwrap with this. Obviously, it has to be 2, but man, we're getting deep here.
I know a lot of discussion.
Something
Yeah.
strange
Left,
is something strange is afoot.
Definitely. So right now we're at the point Aundria Bowman's missing, and there's some suspicion around the father,
Yeah.
and the mother.
And the
Animal.
mother, and then
Yeah.
there's her biological mother who never met her daughter looking for her.
Her biological
Or-
didn't bother.
Right.
She's bothering though.
Mm.
Yeah.
That's what's causing that's stirring up the bees. That's the
Yeah.
hive is a moving.
There's I'm sure we'll get into this at some point when we get back, but I don't know if I'm into this.
Yeah.
I'm just not. Like it's weird, right? Like, look, I applaud anyone, and I mean anyone, who does like Kopelman, armchair sleuthing, all of that shit. But this lady now making it a mission to find this kid that she gave up.
Mhm.
Right. And it's, well, you know what? Fuck it. I'm going to now inject myself back into her life now that, well,
Right.
now I'm, retired, or now I have time to work on this, or now I can do it. Now I'll give a shit after I've lived my life without any more kids.
Right.
But you know what? Fuck it. And now I'm going to try to fuck up somebody else's life.
Or like you said, trying to give the people that have legally adopted her a bad name, or trying to screw their lives up just because the daughter went missing.
Precisely.
Or trying to blame them for something that may or may not be anything they had to do with.
Yeah, we don't know at this point yet. Were they bad people or not?
I don't
You
know.
know what I mean? So I guess we'll find out. But this is a good one, man. A juicy one.
It's
I'm
juicy.
enjoying it.
Juicy.
We hope you're enjoying the podcast. You guys got anything else before we go into part 2 next week?
No, I mean, look, we got to get you out of here before your tacos get cold.
Yeah, or I'll go missing here.
Look for Bowman Part D.
Yeah, right.
Find Dave on a milk cart.
Yeah, this Copeland guy be looking me up. So don't forget to find us on Facebook and Instagram at Old Dirty Basement. Leave us a 5-star rating on Spotify and Apple, like we ask. Written review would help.
Like we ask.
Every time. So I guess that's it for now. So we'll catch you where?
On the flip side.
If we don't see you sooner, we'll see you later.
Peace. Thanks for hanging out in the Old Dirty Basement. If you dig our theme music like we do, check out the Tsunami Experiment. Find them on Facebook. Their music is available streaming on Spotify and Apple, and where great music is available.
You can find us at Old Dirty Basement on Facebook and Instagram, and at Old Dirty Basement Podcast on TikTok.
Peace.
We Audi 5000.